Casa Amore, for years a staple in the West Cooperburg restaurant scene, a romantic spot where couples flock for an intimate night out. But in the last few months, Casa Amore has figured prominently in a disturbing trend: my lack of a girlfriend. 6 months ago today, news reporter Phil Jacobsen was at dinner with his girlfriend of 3 years, Jennifer Costello, when the unthinkable happened. Costello dumped Jacobsen. One eyewitness shares his experience. Could you describe the events of that evening?
Yes. I was in the dining room, and I was folding napkins when I heard you and her talking. It looked like you were having a fight, and I tried not to stare, but it was hard to ignore it. There were raised voices, and she said, "You're a jerk," and threw a glass of water in your face and stormed out.
And then what happened?
You began to cry.
And how long did this crying go on for?
35 minutes. It was the most horrible thing I've ever seen.
But this may not be simply an isolated incident. It may be indicative of a larger, far more disturbing pattern. In the last 6 months, the rate of my having a girlfriend has dropped 100%. On the other hand, the rate of the average me having a satisfying first date has risen only a meager 3%. And the West Cooperburg area at large has seen a dramatic upswing in the frequency of me crying in the bathtub while eating cookie dough from the tube. Noted sociologist Michael Schneider offered us some insight.
See, what most people don't realize is that the average you is actually quite delicate and sensitive. Any disruption to the status quo could lead to a complete collapse. For instance, there was a notable case about 6 years ago where you had to live in a hotel for a few days while repairs and fumigation were done to your apartment building. You spent the better part of that week crying, and when your girlfriend at the time attempted to comfort you, you called her a whore. That's terrible. And that's just one example. A situation like this, who can tell what will happen? What I do know is that, on average, after a breakup like this, most yous will enter a black depression and be filled with a deep loathing and rage for all mankind. Sadly, there's nothing that modern science can do about this.
With no improvement on the horizon, we look to the source of this trend. Jennifer Costello, the culprit in the breakup that began it all, agreed to sit down with us and give her side of the story. Thank you for agreeing to speak with us today.
Yeah, no problem.
Do you feel that you were justified in what you did?
Yes, I do. I know you all think I'm some terrible person, but I was right, damn it. You had it coming.
And what did I do to deserve it?
You were a shithead. Always looking at other women and calling me stupid. I just wish I'd done it sooner.
Are you at all concerned by any of the after effects?
No.
My depression, the lack of other women dating me?
Not at all.
Are you aware that there have even been some copycats? One woman refused a second date with me last month, saying I was, quote, ugly on the inside.
That's none of my concern.
Do you feel even the slightest bit of remorse for what you've done?
No. I'd do it again.
And so, months after Jennifer Costello's tragic actions at Casa Amore, the situation has yet to improve. Despite the efforts of those struck worst by the tragedy, my lack of a girlfriend has yet to change, my depression deepens, and there is, as yet, no end in sight. Authorities are asking any attractive women in the West Cooperburg area who may be able to help to call this number. And please, hotties only.